All right, Tucker, as always, thank you. Great show. This is a Fox News alert. The left's massive, inexcusable hypocrisy continues to be exposed as new, deeply disturbing accusations emerge against the now disgraced Hollywood executive, major Democratic political donor, Harvey Weinstein. In an explosive report from The New Yorker, 3 women are now accusing Weinstein of rape, and Hollywood A-listers like Gwyneth Paltrow, Angelina Jolie, they are now saying that Weinstein sexually harassed them also. Now, as these shocking details continue to come out, Hollywood liberals, Democrats are only slowly starting to condemn Weinstein. It's 5 days later. Hillary Clinton, who has accepted tens of thousands of dollars in campaign donations from Weinstein, is finally now denouncing him after a deafening silence. And late tonight, the Obamas, they're finally condemning the Hollywood mogul. Tonight, we have Newt Gingrich, Monica Crowley, who knew Harvey Weinstein, Geraldo Rivera, Larry Elder will all join us. But first, we'll do what the mainstream media never will do. We're going to expose tonight how this is much bigger and far more pervasive than the media will ever tell you. And that is tonight's breaking news opening monologue. All right, so the massive Harvey Weinstein scandal is getting more disturbing hour by hour. Now, according to an absolutely stunning report from The New Yorker, 3 women are now accusing Weinstein of rape, and 4 others are saying the media mogul sexually harassed them. Now, the New Yorker also obtained what it says is New York Police Department, an audio recording of a 2015 sting operation involving Weinstein and a model. On this recording, Weinstein, you can hear him admitting to groping her. And we've got to warn you, if you have kids in the room, this is graphic. Listen to this.
You must come here now.
No.
Please.
No, I don't want to.
I'm not doing anything with you. Now you're embarrassing me.
I'm sorry. I cannot. No, yesterday was a kind of aggressive for me. I need to know a person to be touched.
I won't do a thing.
I don't want
do a thing, please. I swear I won't. Just sit with me. Don't embarrass me in the hotel. I'm here all the time.
I
Sit
know,
with me.
but
I promise.
don't want to.
Please sit there. Please. 1 minute.
No,
I ask
I can't.
you. Go to the bathroom.
Please, I don't want to do something I don't want
Go to the bathroom. Come here. Listen to me.
I want to go downstairs.
I'm not going to do anything. You'll never see me again after this. Okay? That's it. If you embarrass me in this hotel,
I'm not embarrassing you. It's just that I don't feel comfortable.
Honey, don't have a fight with me in the
It's not
hallway.
nice.
Please, I'm not going to do anything. I swear, my children. Please come in. On everything. I'm a famous guy.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now.
Please come in now. And 1 minute. And if you want to leave, when the guy comes with my jacket, you can go.
Yesterday you touched my breast.
Oh, please, I'm sorry. Just come on. I'm used to that. Come on.
Are you used to that?
Yes, come in. Because
No, but I'm not used to
I
that.
won't do it again. Come on. Sit here. Sit here for a minute, please.
No, I don't want to.
If you do this now, you will embarrass me. No. Like, never call me again. Okay? I'm sorry. I promise you I won't do anything.
I know, but yesterday was too
The
much
guy's
for
coming.
me.
I will never do another thing to you. 5 minutes. Don't ruin your friendship with me for 5 minutes.
I know, but it's kind of like, it's too much for me. I can't.
Please, you're making a big scene here.
No,
Please.
but I want to leave.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Now, that poor woman, so disturbing. And according to the New York Post, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, they're somehow defending their decision to not prosecute Weinstein back in 2015. That is repulsive. But unfortunately, it's only one of the many troubling revelations coming out about Harvey Weinstein. Hollywood A-listers like Gwyneth Paltrow, Angelina Jolie, they told the New York Times earlier today that Weinstein sexually harassed them. Also, other actresses are telling the New York Times that Weinstein was making unwanted advances. Heather Graham is also speaking out. She told Variety that Weinstein implied that if she had sex with him, she would get a movie deal and a movie role. And also tonight, Weinstein's wife, Georgina Chapman, she told People magazine she is now finally leaving her husband. And according to the Daily Mail, Weinstein, well, he's taken a page out of the Clinton playbook. He's now hiring a top Hollywood lawyer in an attempt, if you read it, to discredit his victims. At this rate, the way it's going, it looks like this is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to allegations against Harvey Weinstein. Now, what's even more disturbing is the fact that people, many of them in Hollywood, knew what Weinstein was doing, and they knew it for decades, and they did nothing about it. and some in Hollywood are even being accused of helping to cover this up. Now, according to a former New York Times reporter, there was a 2004 story that she was working on about Weinstein allegedly paying a woman to keep her silent after he sexually harassed her. Well, that was eventually killed with the help, she says, from actors Matt Damon and Russell Crowe. Now, Damon is denying that he played any role and says the conversation that he had with the reporter was not about Weinstein. There's also fashion designer. Want to be outraged? Donna Karan. She has to apologize today after saying on Sunday that Weinstein's accusers were, quote, asking for it. And there's also the fact that, as we highlighted last night, Weinstein is a huge, massive, major Democratic donor. Now, the Center for Responsive Politics, their estimate is that Weinstein contributed over $2 million to Democrats, and that's just since the year 2000. Now, it includes individual donations to key, very key, top Democratic names and players, including an estimated $44,000 to Hillary Clinton. And that's in addition to the $15,000 that Weinstein gave to her super PAC, or a super PAC tied to Hillary. And Weinstein also donated over $56,000 to the Obama Victory Fund. Maybe that's why it took Clinton and the Obamas 5 days to begin to speak out. And that's not all. The Hollywood executive dished out over $97,000 to the Democratic National Committee. He wrote checks for over $76,000 to the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. Some Democrats, to their credit, are giving the money back. Others are donating to various liberal groups. Really? However, not every single Democrat is even doing that, even though they should be. Remember back during the campaign, I made such a big deal about all of the money that Hillary Clinton, her foundation, was taking in from countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, the UAE. These are countries that treat women horribly. Remember, in some of these countries, gays and lesbians are put to death. Christians and Jews are also persecuted under Sharia law in these countries. Now, before we tell you what Hillary Clinton said about Weinstein today, along 5 days after the scandal broke, we want to remind you what the women who accused Bill Clinton of sexual misconduct said. I don't remember many Hollywood stars speaking out against Bill Clinton or talking about his issues that he had to deal with, or how Hillary defended him. You may remember this. You described a scene where he was biting on your lip, and then when it was all over, he was leaving. Said, you better put some ice on that.
Yeah, and casually put on his sunglasses and walked out the door.
It was a terrible ordeal for me, and no woman should be subjected to it. But it was an assault.
He assaulted you?
Yes.
He touched, grabbed, fondled, and kissed you against your will.
Yes.
And it's an allegation that is not made by one woman, it's made by multiple
Many
women.
of us.
I said, well, I may need to be going or something. And next thing you know, he pulled down he sat down, pulled down his pants, his whole everything, and he was exposed. And I said, I'm not that kind of girl, and I need to be getting back to my desk.
Remember what Hillary said, and a lot of Hollywood liberals support Hillary. She said their accusations were part of the vast right-wing conspiracy. So keep that in mind while I read you the statement, the ever so eloquent statement that she put out about Weinstein today. I was shocked and appalled by the revelations about Harvey Weinstein. The behavior described by women coming forward cannot be tolerated. Their courage and the support of others is critical in helping to stop this kind of behavior. Really, Hillary? Really? 3 generic sentences and your utter silence over the years? Now, here's the truth about the Clintons and Weinstein. Take a look at these pictures. They've known Weinstein for years and have been more than happy to take all his money to run their campaigns. FoxNews.com is also reporting that Weinstein donated between $100,000 and $250,000 to that Clinton Foundation. Maybe that's why Hillary waited to condemn Weinstein. Countries that support Sharia, maybe they brought her silence, remember? She never criticized those countries that treat women, gays, lesbians, Christians, and Jews horribly. Did Weinstein buy her silence also? And also today, finally, at this late hour, the Obamas, they finally put out a statement about Weinstein. It reads this, quote, Michelle and I have been disgusted by the recent reports of Harvey Weinstein. Any man who demeans, degrades women in such fashion needs to be condemned and held accountable, regardless of wealth or status. We should celebrate the courage of women who have come forward to tell these painful stories. And we all need to build a culture, including by empowering our girls and teaching our boys decency and respect, so we can make such behavior less prevalent in the future. Okay, Obama loves to opine about cultural controversies. What took him so long to denounce Weinstein? Did it have to do with the fact that he's taken all that money from Weinstein, that he invited Weinstein to the White House? Maybe Barack Obama was too embarrassed because back in 2013, the former First Lady, Michelle Obama, praised Harvey Weinstein during a White House event. Watch this.
This is possible because of Harvey. He is a wonderful human being, a good friend, and just a powerhouse.
Here's a question. Are the Clintons, the Obamas, are you going to give that money that Weinstein donated? You going to give it back? It's beyond despicable, beyond shameful. These rumors have been out there for years, and it's not surprising when it comes to the left. As I have explained over and over on this show, liberals love to be so sanctimonious, holier than thou, but they're really hypocrites. They claim moral authority over Republicans and conservatives over issues like women's rights, gay rights, freedom of speech, religious freedom. No, we conservatives on this program have spoken out about the treatment of women, gays, lesbians, Christians, and Jews under Sharia. Hollywood's a perfect example of this hypocrisy. For decades, we've been hearing about this type of behavior that Weinstein is being accused of. Now, he's definitely not alone. It's bigger than anyone is going to tell you. We will be investigating. People have been talking for years. Ever hear the phrase, the casting couch in Hollywood? We've all heard that phrase. And guess what? Hollywood has turned a blind eye to what is systemic abuse. They've just accepted it, all while attacking conservatives as being anti-women, feigning moral outrage, selective moral outrage, anytime a conservative is actually caught up in a scandal or an alleged scandal. Hollywood doesn't care about the issue that they talk about, because if they did, someone would have spoken out sooner about Weinstein. People have known for years, and they didn't do it. Hollywood, what do they do in the movies? They romanticize violence and sex. That's their bread and butter. And, of course, cartoon characters. We all know their value system. We all know they slant left. This is why it's bigger than anyone will tell you, and I want to prove it to you. I have a video. It's from 2003. Remember, guy accused of rape, even admitted to part of it, Roman Polanski? Okay, that year he won an Oscar for Best Director. And in the Hollywood leftist audience, how did they respond? Remember, he was in his 40s when the accusation took place. The girl we're talking about was 13. The same Polanski accused of raping a 13-year-old girl after giving her champagne and Quaaludes. He's 43 at the time of the alleged attack. Polanski, charged with 6 felony counts, fled to Europe before he got the full sentence he deserved, which is why he was absent from this award ceremony. Now that you know this, pay close attention. How did the Hollywood Oscars crowd, which included Harvey Weinstein and Meryl Streep and others, how did they cheer for this accused child rapist? Watch this. It speaks volumes.
Roman Polanski, for the pianist.
Now, seeing that, after knowing what Polanski did to a 13-year-old girl, should we really be surprised that Hollywood leftists, liberals didn't expose Weinstein sooner? We also have to point out that some in Hollywood, they still support Polanski. Back in 2009, after Roman Polanski, he was arrested in Switzerland. People wanted him extradited to California on this 1977 case. But over 100 leftists, Hollywood celebrities, and we're showing you some of the notable ones right there, they all signed a petition demanding the guy that did this to a 13-year-old girl be released. Now, there are also reports Harrison Ford and Harvey Weinstein himself signed that petition. This hypocrisy is stunning, it's shameful, it's beyond disgusting. Here's my prediction tonight. This Harvey Weinstein scandal is only the tip of the iceberg. For example, tonight, actor Terry Crews, he announced he was sexually assaulted by a, quote, high-ranking Hollywood executive. We'll have a lot more in the days and weeks ahead, and more coming up later in the program. Here with Reaction First, Fox News correspondent at large Geraldo Rivera, radio talk show host Larry Elder, and conservative commentator Monica Crowley. I want to start with you. You knew him.
Well, in 2001, I worked as an editor and a writer for Talk Magazine. Talk Magazine was half owned by Harvey Weinstein and his first movie studio, Miramax. Right. So he controlled half of that magazine. And while I never experienced or witnessed sexual harassment myself, I did witness extremely abusive behavior on the part of Harvey Weinstein, directed to the editor-in-chief, Tina Brown, and others who worked in that magazine. Right. He would come in that office once a week, couple times a week, screaming, and the vitriol that he spewed was so abusive that rather than being productive, it actually had the contrary effect. And while we all heard sort of whispers about the other part of it, it's all of a piece, Sean. The abusive behavior in one area certainly tells us about abusive behavior in other areas.
You know what? How is it possible, Geraldo? I have friends. They all told me the same thing that live in Los Angeles. Everybody knew. Everybody knew, and it's far more pervasive than anybody knows. There's a guy in New Zealand I know that's hiring attorneys to expose all of these people. I think this is going to get bigger.
Oh, it's huge. But nobody can pretend to be surprised. You mentioned the expression casting couch. I've done at least a dozen exposés about the casting couch over the years. In 2013, when Seth MacFarlane, the very gifted comic, was presenting the nominations for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, he said of the 5 nominees, now they didn't have to pretend to like Harvey Weinstein anymore.
I remember
this was
that.
a generalized. This was general knowledge. Furthermore, to your political point, I don't think that the progressive side of the political agenda, the liberals, can in any way deny that they dropped the ball regarding these specific allegations. There is no doubt, but if this was one of us, if it was Bill O'Reilly again, or if it was Bill Cosby, the left would have had it. It would have been, for instance, the lead in the Saturday Night Live monologue or the Weekend Update. It was not even mentioned. The late night comics didn't mention it at all, and it is lamentable that a person who is a predator like this, Weinstein is a pig, but if he were a right-wing pig, they would have been all over this on Friday, not waiting until Tuesday.
You know, Larry, you live in L.A. It's different in this sense. Everybody I know that lives out there, there are so many people, young people, that go out there with dreams and aspirations, and they want to be actors and actresses and models and all of this. I'm told by my friends there, this is so pervasive, and it's worse than anybody knows. What do you hear from other people in the industry?
Well, that's why this is so appalling, Sean. It's one thing for a young starlet, naive, to be subjected to the casting couch and the behavior of Harvey Weinstein. It's another thing for an accomplished, established actress like a Glenn Close to say, yeah, I knew about this for a long time, never said anything. Knowing about it all this time, not saying anything, knowing full well he's doing this to younger actresses. My goodness, where have you been? But John, we ought not be surprised by this kind of hypocrisy. Remember Paula Jones? Paula Jones went to the National Organization for Women for help, and she was told, I'm sorry, you're in bed with the wrong people. I interviewed Kathleen Willey. She told me she called Gloria Allred's office twice. Allred didn't even return the phone call
Larry,
because she was in bed with the wrong people.
The Clintons got a pass because they're liberal. And now all the things I've been saying about the money they take from countries that have Sharia, the Clintons got a pass on all of Bill Clinton's garbage, and they all knew that was true.
And Sean, one more thing real quickly. There's a book called No One Left to Lie To. The foreword was written by Douglas Brinkley, a very respected historian. The book was by Christopher Hitchens. He said that Bill Clinton has been accused credibly of rape not once, Not twice, but 3 times. The book is out there, publicly out there. Again, the forward by somebody very respected.
It didn't stop them
from voting.
It was
like a tree fell in the
her.
forest and didn't make a sound.
And
Nobody
she never,
cared.
not a peep
Amazing.
out of Hillary. And Monica, go ahead.
No.
Well, remember, Hillary Clinton said over the last year that women who make these kinds of accusations should be believed.
Only this year, only that last year, though.
And look, Harvey Weinstein in the first day of this scandal was telling people this is going to blow over because he believed as a good liberal who was throwing his money around that he'd be protected. And for a long time, he was, Sean. This shows a very deep, corrosive moral degradation, not just in Hollywood, but in the culture.
I'm not going to cast aspersions on one group of people. I'm not going to cast aspersions on women that were afraid to talk. But so many waited. And I'm thinking, if you're waiting, you got to know in the back of your head this guy's not changing his behavior. And some of the women were very rich and powerful.
He's doing it to others. And look, when it's happening to you, you think you're alone. You think it's only happening to you, that this kind of thing is only directed at you.
That's a good point.
And so when you walk out of a situation like this, you're terrified to tell anybody because you think you're the only one and that you're not going to be believed.
But here is the partial solution, at least to this emergent scandal. When Harvey Weinstein paid off these people, I have no doubt but that he and his privately held company, of which he and his brother own 42%, that they deducted those payoffs, the silence money, from their income tax, the company's income tax, as a legitimate business expense. That is a violation of tax law. What has to happen now, the frustration that the New York County DA voiced about the inability to prosecute him for the groping of the actress because she may have been unreliable or whatever it was, or they didn't, the lawyers came down on to, or whatever it was. Now the tax man can, I think, unpeel a lot of this nonsense and hold people accountable for clear violations of the IRS tax code, a felony, by the way. This is not a minor crime. And I think that's the way to go. Now, as the other thing is, many of the complainants, many of the women who are coming forward in the Bill Cosby case, many of the allegations were 20, 30, even 40 years old. I suspect that in the Weinstein case, there are fresher allegations in which the statute of limitation has not told.
All right, we're just up on the clock. I promised this audience we're going to get to the bottom of it because these young people deserve better. You know, this casting couch crap has got to stop. Good to see you. I'm sorry about what you went through, too. When we come back, the NFL commissioner. We'll have more on this later in the program. Roger Goodell, huge announcement today on the national anthem controversy. You're going to want to hear this. Newt Gingrich in studio as we continue straight ahead tonight on Hannity. Welcome back to Hannity. So today, the NFL Commissioner, Roger Goodell, finally responded to the national anthem controversy plaguing the league. Hello, Roger. In a letter written to all NFL teams, Goodell wrote in part, the current dispute over the national anthem is threatening to erode the unifying power of our game and is now dividing us and our players from many fans across the country. He then continued, like many of our fans, we believe that everyone should stand for the national anthem. We need to move past this controversy, and we want to do that together with our players. Meanwhile, Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, he repeated his position today that he will bench players who disrespect the flag. Good for him. Watch this.
The policy and my actions are going to be that if you do not honor and stand for the flag in a way that a lot of our fans feel that you should, if that's not the case, then you won't play.
We got to remember, people fought, bled, and died under that flag. Unfortunately, those on the left in this country were quick to accuse Jerry Jones of being racist. This is pathetic. Watch this.
A week ago, I said I thought Jerry Jones displayed some leadership because he seemed to understand compromise, saying, I need to be with my players, and he got down and linked arms and all this stuff. And then he said, but I want to honor the anthem. And I understand that, and it seemed like that was where he was going. But now it just seems like it was as phony as a $3 bill. And the word that comes to my mind, I don't care who doesn't like me using it, is plantation. The players are here to serve me, and they will do what I want no matter how much I pay them. They are not equal to me.
Jerry Jones' decision
tonight, the scandal
in many
swirling
ways
around
smacks of a plantation mentality.
Really? What about NFL players? Are we restricting their free speech rights when one player wants to put on his cleats on the 15th anniversary of 9/11/01? Never forget and put the date 9/11/01, or when the Cowboys, they wanted to honor the police officers that were assassinated in the line of duty. They were forbidden from doing that. And you can't twerk, and you can't do a fake bow and arrow in the end zone, and you can't taunt. Really? A lot of free speech restrictions in the NFL. Joining us now, author of Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps, former NFL player, rock star, and Burgess Owens is back with us, and civil rights attorney Darryl Parks. Darryl, there's plenty of restrictions on free speech in the NFL. Can't remember 9/11, can't honor dead police officers assassinated in the line of duty. One player wanted to honor his mother with pink, but it wasn't the month of October. He was denied that request. So why can't they make rules here, too, without being called racist?
Well, here's the problem, Sean. I think the NFL commissioner had it right, though. We have to remove this barrier and move forward to find a way for Americans to come together. I think the players should stand for the flag.
Yeah, where's Goodell been?
They should stand for the anthem.
This is about low ratings and revenues walking out the door. This isn't about principle. Goodell's gotten the message. People aren't watching it. They're not putting up with the disrespect to the brave men and women who fought, bled, and died fighting for that flag and their right to play a fun sport and get paid a lot of money.
Well, here's the problem. The battle is this. We need Americans who stand with us for the flag to stand to help erase the racial divide that exists in our country. We have issues Monday through Saturday.
Time and place for
education, health care.
And Burgess, I mentioned this. Robert Kraft, he said to all his players, I'll match you dollar for dollar. Let's do something in our communities and help people.
That's what we need to do.
Excited. I'm so excited about this this conversation we're having, because what we're seeing in the black community as we pull back the dark underbelly of socialism and Marxism, you see people that don't have any hope. And at the end of the day, we now have a chance to have this conversation. Where have the black leaders, all these guys who are now complaining, and the socialists that are talking about racist owners, where have they been as we've had this misery for black people for all these years? It's been total silence. So I'm glad we're having this conversation. At the end of the day, we're going to win this because Americans do what we do best. We're going to end up going into this community, giving these kids hope. We're going to put money into the right kind of organization, not the NAACP, the front for Marxism, but we're going to be putting in people that are right now doing the job and trying to give these kids hope and an opportunity to know that they have the American dream is real for them.
There's not one, I'm all for, I make my living with freedom of speech, Darryl. I'm all for. It's a shame that nobody paid attention in Obama's adopted hometown during his presidency, and 39 people killed, 18,000 shot in 6 years, the final 6 years of his presidency. Where was everybody? Where was everybody when kids are dying?
But let me say this.
God's sons and daughters are dying. And I've scrolled their names nobody heard of before.
But I think you need to hear these NFL players. They are saying to America, to our president, we have a racial issue that we need to talk about. We need to have that conversation. And so until we have that conversation, I don't think we've properly responded to these players. I think the president owes it to the country and to the players and to the league and to all Americans who are going to stand for the flag to make sure that we have this conversation to address the issues that so many of these players have brought to our attention.
Yeah,
this what gets me is we have had more black success than ever in the history of mankind. And yet within the black community, these people are telling these kids for 20, 30 years, that they can't make it. So yes, the conversation needs to be had, but we need to get in there and tell them what the real deal is with our country, and not let these socialists run the racket they've been running for so many years on these kids.
All right, guys, we got to leave it go there. We appreciate it. When we come back, is Roger Goodell's statement about players standing for the anthem a big win for President Trump? We'll ask Newt Gingrich about that, about Harvey Weinstein, whether or not Republicans can get anything done, and the battle between Senator Corker and President Trump. We got a lot of ground to cover on this busy breaking news night. Stay with us. And welcome back to Hannity. So today, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell sent that letter to the NFL owners saying that the league believes everyone should stand for the national anthem. Wow, finally they're getting on board. This is what President Trump has been calling for. Here with reaction. Author of a brand new, I don't think this is going to outdo your last one. Your last book was, 30 weeks on the New York Times list. Newt Gingrich, his brand new book is Vengeance, a former Speaker of the House. And also, by the way, his wife Callista, who's going to be the ambassador to the Vatican. She has a new book out, which is the latest installment of the Ellis the Elephant series, Remember the Ladies. She can't sell her book.
She's not allowed to do anything anymore.
Poor Callista.
She now works for the American people. She can't come out and...
Well, congratulations. Huge win for Trump, I think, and he was right to bring this debate on the NFL and the anthem.
Absolutely. And one of the things that is driving the elite media crazy is that Trump has this instinct for taking the side of the American people and taking the side of American history and being willing to stand up to every politically correct nutcake left-winger there is. And he's gradually beginning to break through, I think. And it gives him a well of support that's not measurable in traditional terms. I mean, all these leaders, if you go back and collected all the elitists who wrote columns about how wrong it was for Trump to do this, well, the average American looked up and said, no, that's exactly right. And when Dave Winston and his team did their poll and found out that the NFL had collapsed in favor, dramatically, I am sure at that point Roger Goodell suddenly, in a moment of deep patriotism and desire not to go broke.
Now you're sounding as cynical as I am in life, which is, find it refreshing.
I just think it's funny that...
You mean when the ratings went to the lowest level in Monday Night Football history and their revenues are sinking, it caught their attention. They
suddenly decided that they, too, wanted to stand for the flag.
They, too, wanted... Think of what you're saying. It's actually very clever. I want to go back to this Harvey Weinstein issue because there's a huge political component here. You've known me all these years. I first interviewed you in 1990. First time it was in a Holiday Inn in Decatur, Alabama. The thing that frustrates me the most is a lie that is told, that Republicans are racist, sexist, misogynistic, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic every 2 to 4 years, every election cycle. Poor Mitt Romney had resumes of women and was accused of misogyny. Couldn't meet a nicer guy in your life, right? It now, all the hypocrisy, Hillary takes money from countries that practice Sharia. They take money from Weinstein. Everybody I know in Hollywood says this was an open secret, how abusive and horrible this man was. The casting couch is not a new concept. It didn't matter that Bill Clinton treated women horribly. They still voted for Bill and Hillary. I'm tired. Why the double standard?
Well, let me say, first of all, that Ben Domenech in the Transom, which is a great daily blog, pointed out two things. One, if Hillary'd won, this would still not be a story because they would have smothered it because it so directly brings back up Bill and Hillary. And so in that sense, this is a story that could only emerge when you had somebody new in the White House. Two, in the old days, people like Weinstein, and this would make an amazing movie or an amazing novel. People like Weinstein, it's not just him. There were people who had the power that they could go to the various news publications and the various women's publications and say, I can get a star to be the cover of your next magazine. Now, do you really want to pick a fight with me?
They owned them.
And what has happened, as Domenech points out, is with the democratization of media, there are too many small people out there to bribe. And so all of a sudden somebody comes along and says,
Twitter, Facebook.
I'm willing to report this, and you can't do anything to me. I think what's interesting is this is part of an ongoing process. You're going to see Hollywood now, I think, come apart at the seams, just as you're seeing Silicon Valley come apart at the seams, because all of a sudden it becomes inappropriate for economic power to coerce and blackmail and bribe people that it has been exploiting.
There's an ugly, hypocritical underbelly here, though. The left will tolerate the sins of the left. Hollywood celebrities tolerated the sins of the Clintons because of what their politics were. any conservative, even if it's not true, they'll go forward with the fierce, feigned outrage.
Look, I think what gets to people like you and me and to most of our audience is the left is determined to say that they are morally superior. And that's what makes their, they have to come in and say, whatever the topic is, you're a bad person. Not just you disagree and you're a conservative, you're a bad person. And as you said, they then come up with all these nasty big terms. And I just saw a study that the next generation of college professors, people under 35 today, are 12-to-1 Democrat. 12-to-1. Now that says to me the campuses are gone. And these are all people who walk around smugly saying, I'm morally superior and you must be inferior because, after all, you don't believe what I believe.
Do you think they really, deep down in their hearts, know how hypocritical they are?
No. That's what's frightening. I think these people are totalitarians. These are the people that Orwell wrote in 1984 about. These are people who believe sincerely in their right to crush you.
And sincerely, they can, but they'll tolerate the sins of their own. They'll tolerate a double. It's like Leonardo DiCaprio is a big green guy. It's not enough to celebrate New Year's Eve once with a private jet to Australia and then a private jet to fly back to Vegas, so you get to celebrate it twice. And then, of course, you can buy carbon offsets, which is the equivalent of buying, a diamond watch, ring, and necklace if you're unfaithful to your wife and say, oh, it's just an offset, honey, no problem.
That's right.
That'll work. Which a carbon offset is, oh, I can sin all I want. I can put out all the emissions I want, but you got to get rid of your caravan and drive a bicycle.
Now, you're not going to jump from there in a mean-spirited way and start talking about Al Gore's swimming pool and Al Gore's mansion.
I got a video of Al Gore getting off a Gulfstream, and it's only him and his wife, which seats 18.
Just because
I can't. I'm the only person in life that can throw you off. I'm sorry.
You have me totally stopped now. I have no idea what I was about to say.
All right, the double standard hypocrisy.
No, I think what drives us crazy is, and candidly, one of the things that saved Bill Clinton was that he knew he was a hypocrite, and he was kind of cheerful about it. It was the people around him who weren't, and if you watch him, I mean. This is a guy who remember, went down and talked to a group in Houston and said, I bet you raised your taxes too much. Well, heck, I think I did too. I mean, he had this Arkansas country boy, aw shucks, here I am doing the best I can. That's not what these people are. These people are people who would destroy you. You being, not just you, Sean Hannity, but their view of life.
Any conservative.
Well, anybody on a college campus who speaks inappropriately.
Look at Berkeley.
Yeah.
All right, stay right there. I want to ask you about this battle between Corker and the president and the agenda and whether it can get done. And we'll talk about your new book. It's not going to do as well as Understanding Trump.
Well, yeah,
and I haven't read it yet. I just got it today.
Look, it's about North Korea.
You can't do better than 30 weeks in a row.
It's about North Korea.
Yeah.
It's about terrorism. It just leaps off today's pages.
Oh, really?
Vengeance is going to do very well.
Okay, well, I'm going to start reading it tonight. I'll pull it up in a second. We'll take a break. More with Newt on the other side. Oh, and I have an announcement straight ahead. As we continue with the author of the Brit, I actually got my copy right here. Oh, I dropped it. Right here. Vengeance. Former Speaker. He's upset because I said it's not going to do as good as Understanding Trump, which was a...
But this is a very important book. This book says very important things about national security.
This is your passion. You're not really a commentator. I don't even think you, although you were one of the best speakers, you were one of the great political visionaries, you actually can give a course to these idiots in Washington today how to have urgency, keep your promises, and get things done. But this is your passion, and it models right from today's headlines, you said.
Right. Well, yeah, because I worry about our national security. I think this is the most dangerous period since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis.
That's right.
I think it's partly a problem because we have verticals. We think, okay, we're going to deal with North Korea, but it's not North Korea. It's North Korea and the terrorists and Iran and Russia, and you have to think networks of behavior. And the point we make in Vengeance is, what if terrorists got 2 super tankers full of fuel, swapped it to the North Koreans for nuclear material to make dirty bombs, and wanted to set off, and wanted to deliver it the old-fashioned way by a ship, because they weren't going to build a missile that we could shoot down. then what happens? And we have Brooke Grant, who's our Marine major. This is her 3rd volume. And she works with a Mossad agent who's a woman and with a Saudi Arabian agent who's a man. And the 3 of them are assigned, find these guys before the stuff can get to the U.S. or to Israel or to the Persian Gulf.
Can I have the movie rights, guys? I got my first movie coming up. So we got this battle going on. I know most people feel like me right now. When you became Speaker, you ended up balancing the budget, welfare reform, but you also would take out of your pocket a piece of paper. First 100 days, we're going to do these 10 items, and you did them. You kept your word. Repeal and replace 7.5 years. Do you know how aggravated I am that they weren't ready for that moment?
Yep.
Now it appears they may not be ready for this moment in terms of the tax bill, which the forgotten men and women need. And Bob Corker is in a war with Donald Trump. And I'm thinking, this isn't going to help the country. And by the way, they hate him. Let's be honest here. I talk to people in that Senate room when the doors close, and they tell me exactly what's said by Ben Sasse, Lindsey Graham, Senator McCain, Mitch McConnell, and Bob Corker. They don't like this president.
Look, but by the summer of 1940, the only American president to be elected 4 times was so disliked by the Congress that he turned to General George Marshall and said, if we're going to get an extension of the draft, actually it's 41, if we're going to get an extension of the draft, you have to go get it because none of them trust me enough. Now, this was the president who arguably was the most effective politician in American history.
Well, at least he'd had 3 terms by that point. I mean,
I'm just saying. So
we haven't gotten through the first year.
The founding fathers designed a system for independently elected people in 3 different places, and it's really, really hard.
Mr. Speaker,
by the way, I want to say something though.
Okay.
About patterns. Here is a good example of what you're talking about. I just pulled out the Paul Ryan postcard that you could fill out if they passed the tax bill. 85 or 95% of all Americans will be able to do all of their taxes on a postcard. Saves about 5 billion hours of paperwork, and it saves probably 100 billion.
I'm not worried about the House has sent over, Mr. Speaker, 280 bills.
So the question
They've only gotten 1/3 of the president's appointments.
Right.
It's a year. What are you doing? What are they doing?
And so part of what I would suggest.
Older brother talk. Okay.
No, not to you.
The calm Hannity down.
No, not trying to calm you down. I'm trying to draw on, as you know, we just did an online course called Defending Democracy, and which is people really like. I may do a course on how to legislate.
Is this for them or for us?
For the country, including them.
Especially them.
Yeah, especially them. Because look, and them includes the White House. I mean, the first thing you do is you understand this is a system designed to be hard, and if you screw it up, it becomes impossible.
Why am I having a hard time? And I think I speak for a lot of people. You asked for the House in 2010, you get it.
Right.
You asked for the Senate in 2014, you get it. You asked for the White House, you get it.
Right.
You got it all, and then you have all those lead-up time.
Right. I mean, let me just cut you off and say, you're right. Look, the fact is, people have every right to be frustrated with the Republican Party, which institutionally has been unable now for 10 months to get its act together.
Why? How is that even possible?
Well, because you had a brand new president who'd never served in public office. You have a whole bunch of senators who are very skeptical to hostile. You have a House that had, I think, 70% of the members have been there for 3 terms or less.
Did you hear how pompous and arrogant and what a jackass Corker sounded like in that New York Times interview? Those are my words.
Those are your words. I'm a creature of the House. And all I can say is that people, when they get unleashed, I did this many times in my career. You were there for some of them.
I was there the night you were elected Speaker.
I understand. And there are moments that night when I said things which, if I had not, I said a whole bunch of stuff about the fact that Hillary and Bill were originally McGovernites.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That becomes page 1 of the New York Times. Brand new Speaker attacks president. That was stupid. I mean, why would you say that? Mm-hmm. And so I would say that my advice to Senator Corker, who's a very bright guy, and to President Trump, who's a very bright guy,
keep your promises.
Not just that. Call each other, have lunch, and decide serving the country is more important than fighting.
Your brand new book?
Vengeance.
Callista's new book, She Can't Sell Hers?
Remember the Ladies.
All right. I mean, it's for a children's book, and it's a great series.
Yep.
Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you soon.
Fun.
Hannity.com if you want to get it. More Hannity straight after this. All right, a couple of reminders before we go. You know what? I'm so sick of Hollywood. About 2 years ago, I had a meeting with Kevin and Sam Sorbo, and I got involved as the executive producer. My first movie, I think I'm out of my mind, but the good news is the project's done. And it's coming out. And guess what? It's not like Hollywood. It's not formulaic. It actually has values that you and your whole entire family can go see. It's got a great story. And it's going to be in theaters October 27th. Here's a little bit. Take a look.
The basic tenet of Christianity.
Whoa. This is Coach's timeout. Don't you dare tell me about the love and the compassion of your so-called God. Because if he felt like sacrificing his only begotten son, well, that's his business. But he should have bloody well kept his hands off of mine.
All right, on my website, Hannity.com, a list of theaters. It'll debut October 27th. I think you and your family will like it. Now, tomorrow, programming note, I go to Pennsylvania, Harrisburg. President Trump will be my special guest for the hour, and that full interview will air tomorrow, 9 Eastern. Thanks for being with us. Brian's.